Hey, 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 welcome to the Purpose and Productivity Show. I am Florence, I'm your host, and tonight let's talk about something that we all may be struggling with, and that is a little bit of focus. Our focus is failing, but is it really? Or do we even understand what it is? Well, to explore this topic of deep work, I have a special guest with me. I'm going to not tell you the official description of who he is or his bio. I'm going to tell you my heart description of his bio. Our guest tonight, of course, he is really a technologist. He is a creator. He's a dad. He's a granddad. Most of all, he is just a really good friend. I can call on him and ask him questions like, "What is YouTube doing to me? I don't understand." And he always answers, and I appreciate that. And I always tell him he was the person who taught me about YouTube chapters because I didn't know that was a thing when I started. I'm excited for you all. So give a warm purpose and productivity welcome to our guest this evening. It is none other than tech troublemaker himself, Roy Richardson. Roy, welcome to the show. How are you doing,
Hey,
sir?
everybody. I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to be here, Florence. We hadn't hung out in a while, so I've just been inundated with so many things going on outside of YouTube that it's kept me busy and kept me away from YouTube at the level I like to be. So I'm happy to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. I think this is going to be a fun topic. This whole idea of focus or deep work is something that so many of us struggle with in different forms. But I think we've got a little bit of knowledge to share with everybody today to help them maybe get out of their head about what this is. But before we get deeply into that, I gave the Florence version of who you are, but you have so much more. You have a newsletter and a whole bunch of other things. Would you be kind enough before we start greeting everybody who's here with us that I see you all jumping in the chat? Thank you all so much. But would you just kind of share with people a little bit about who you are as a creator, your background, how you got started, and whatever else you'd love them to know? And I'm going to do what you don't like, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Um, let's see. I just do stuff on YouTube. No. Um, I've been on YouTube off and on for about 10 years, but I really took it serious about almost 5 years ago. And I went through many niches trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And now I focus on kind of content creator education, where my goal is to make the mistakes before you do so that you can learn from my mistakes and move forward. And then the other part is I want to give people confidence to go live, to hit that record button, because I feel like everybody has a story that they need to tell. And I really think that YouTube is the best platform for telling those stories. Um, and so yeah, that's me in a nutshell. That's the short version.
That's the short version. Well, we got
Hmm.
some folks who have decided they're going to show up and say hello. So why don't we say hello back to them? How about that?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to try to do this the right way. And I don't. That's an old question, but I'm. So the first person who jumped in here, of course, is our guest. be be sure to hit that like button. Thank you, Roy. And Frank. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. And he's in here waving at folk. They waving back at each other. For those of you who know, you know we're in the lounge. Hello, Professor Hicks. How you doing? How you doing? Talk that talk, y'all. Okay. Yeah, this is one that you will like, James Hicks. Hey, hey, David Hunt. Glad to see you in the building.
David, I really loved
And
I really
happy
loved it your last. Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say I loved your last video where David was playing the piano on the back as background music on it. That was awesome, David.
Yeah, that was truly amazing. That was a collaboration. Maybe we can talk about that as
Yeah.
how we did that a little bit. And then we have the emotional CEO who always reminds me when I see him pop up. Happy Friday, Live Tribe. And if you are watching the replay, welcome. You are also part of the Live Tribe, and we're excited to have you with us. Leave a comment in the comment box. Hello, hello, Miss Denise. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this too because Roy been doing some stuff. He's been doing some stuff. And I saw some other folks slide in here.
Yeah.
Hello, hello, Miss Inanea. Oh, yeah, I've been making changes, y'all. And they probably gonna change again, just so you know. And hello, Yolanda B. Miss Ravens Talk with Yolanda. Hello there. Glad to see you in the building. So glad to see you guys. If you have questions, go ahead and get them ready. Start putting them in now. Hello, Lisa Maria. And she's saying hello to other people. And I see you all greeting each other. That warms my heart. So we're going to get into this conversation about um, focus. I'm going to say focus, but uh, we've heard, let me just say this. Roy, when you heard the two words deep work, what were they associated with for you when you first heard them? Where did they
Yeah.
come from for you?
Well, I knew that it was the kind of work where you're deeply focused, you're deeply concentrating, you are um it's trying to find distraction free time to do the most important work that we do. We have there's shallow work and then there's deep work, and a lot of times our day goes through and we will do shallow work where we grab those things that are so easy to do and we will neglect the things that require us to really focus. And so it's important that we figure out a way to get enough time. Sometimes we have to steal that time in order to focus and do the really important things that move us forward in our day-to-day lives or in our day-to-day jobs.
Yeah, so I'll tell you where I first heard this, and it
Mhm.
was with Cal Newport. And I
Yep.
had for me, it was kind of a little bit of a different experience because for those who don't know, Cal Newport is a professor at Georgetown University, at the university. Well, I was doing work with the hospital. So, of course, being there, being at the hospital, being on the campus, you kind of hear and you interact with people at a different level. So there was all this buzz about this book. So I went and got this book. Actually went and got the book and read the book. The title of the book is Deep Work: Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World. And this book came out in 2016. So and it hit like it has revolutionized the way we think about focus and what when we use these two words together, deep work. And if you don't read the book, I will just say you can be very misled and assuming you know what he means by this. And Roy hit on it a little bit, and we'll get into that. But he's not actually a productivity specialist. His
Right.
Cal Newport's background, he is a computer scientist. So he came at this problem from a scientific perspective. And the book was revolutionary for me when I read it. And hopefully, if you haven't read it, there will be a link to it in the description, and you can grab it and read it, either the Kindle book or the physical book or the audiobook. Um, but the thing that got me, and I had this misperception, Roy, and I don't know about you, as I was reading the book, and he talked so much about turning off social media, disconnecting from social media, not using email, all those things he had in there, that you basically were going to go live like, under a tree and never talk to anybody, never talk to anybody else.
Yep.
But is that really what he meant?
I don't think so, because coming from an IT standpoint, like for example, if you're a programmer and you are deep into programming and then somebody comes and disrupts you, it takes you almost 30 minutes to get back into the groove of what you need to do in order to focus again, to start programming again. And so, I mean, that's a very common thing. And I've even seen programmers that put a sign on the back of their chair, "Do not disturb," and I'm debugging code and that type of thing. I'll I'll tell my wife sometimes I'm getting ready to do something I'm doing brain surgery where I know I'm gonna do something where I'm gonna have to go so deep into it that I need distraction free and I gotta focus. But it's impossible to be completely distraction free. It's near impossible. We got Teams and all these other chat programs popping up in the middle of the work day that you're working on. There's people who prefer the chat over sending an email. It's easy to ignore email, but chat gets in your face. Teams is like, you know. Um, so he doesn't mean it to that level. He's definitely on the right track. You've got to let go of a lot of stuff in order to focus, but it's not quite to that level, I don't think.
Right. So if somebody I'm gonna ask the community here, what is your definition for you in whatever part of your life you want it to be, whether it's your job, it's your business, it's your ministry, it's your home, it's your family. Pick whatever part of your life you want to associate this with because it works everywhere. For you, what is something that some part of your life or some activity in your life you think I need focus time and distraction free time? Just share it. Don't make it too personal now. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but share something that you've been maybe a little bit challenged with to get rid of and to be able to focus. And when I say focus, I do mean getting rid of the distractions, and sometimes those distractions are even internal. They're us ourselves.
Yeah.
What's something you've been challenged with?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, so part of the challenge for me is that I do have a ADHD. So I have a squirrel brain. So things will distract me very easily. So it takes me putting myself in a place to really focus. Something that I really want to focus on right now is that my day job. I've challenged my team to get certified in a cloud platform, and so as part of that motivation, hey, I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm gonna study up and go take the test and get certified. I mean, like, yeah, I'm doing it every day, but I haven't sat for a test, and so, but I wanted them to really study. But I've had the hardest time getting focused on that. And so my team's kicking my butt. They're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I learned this today." And I'll do like little lunch and learn sessions and say, "Well, okay, I didn't get to study this week, so you guys come up and talk about it and tell me what you learned this week." And so, I'm disappointed with myself in that because that's something I want to do. It's important to me, and I always try to do things like that, set the example for my team. And my squirrel brain just won't let me focus right now on that. I'm like, this is important to me. And I've given myself an artificial deadline. So at some point I have to get focused and study and do that. Um, so that's one thing that's right now is I'm sad about that I want to get focused on. It's important for my team. It's important for myself. Because I'm going through a retooling of my team and the things they're doing. Because now the company I work for during the day, they're very focused on cloud and things we can do with it, and so it's an adventure, and that's all I'll say about that because my NDAs.
yeah, let's not. You know what I mean? Let's not go too far. We did see someone else join in the building. The little red car just came in, so we're gonna say hello to her. Hello, Tora. So glad to see you. I know you're gonna have a question uh, for us. I'm gonna throw this up on the screen. Um, Denise says, yes, when I am interrupted, it takes a minute to get back at it, especially as I've gotten older. I'm more distractible. Um, I don't know if it's a age thing. There scientifically, our brains context switching because when we think we're multitasking, what we're really doing is context switching very quickly. Our brain is switching from one thing to the other. And depending on how we function, that context switching can be its own distraction. And the other thing is having some method that you put in place so that when you yourself want to be distracted, or you, it's Roy called it, have squirrel brain, you can capture that, not stop what you're doing. But this is different than what I'm talking about and what Cal talks about. He talks about training yourself to stay in a mode and thinking and working on one thing for a period of time. His book, he suggests starting with 15 minutes, not 15 hours, 15 minutes, and then increase that over time. One of the things that I did, I'll share an example what I did with a project team. We were running a lot of projects simultaneously, and each project manager had multiple projects they were responsible for. It every week you had, so for those who don't know project management, you're running a team, you've got a budget, you've got customers or stakeholders, you've got issues, you've got risk, all of that for each individual project. So imagine you've got all of that and you're running it across multiple projects, and they're not even necessarily the same type of project. What observed was my project managers were not able to finish all of their reporting every week. So what I did to help them is I blocked 2 hours every week, made it mandatory that they show up, had everybody go into whatever their project was, and we worked in we did 4 Pomodoros together as a team every week. And the key was, if you had a question that you couldn't solve for your project, you let us know. We would take a break. So this was a little different. Answer your question and you go right back. What that did, so this is a modified version of what we call deep work. Giving you all a hint here. You don't have to be exact. It was a modified version. What it did was those people who were having a struggle staying um, keeping their attention on what they were doing, because they were in a meeting with others just like we are here, they, and I made everybody turn their camera on. It was mandatory that you turn your camera on. You couldn't have your camera off. They stayed in the groove of what they were supposed to. And when they ran into a problem, if it was using their project management software or trying to figure out how to phrase a risk or whatever the thing was, they could ask a question and somebody in the team would help them. Then they were past that hurdle and then they just moved on. Even when I stopped the practice, they continued because they found out that they could actually concentrate longer than they thought they could concentrate. Sometimes coming together so that you concentrate is very helpful.
Yeah.
Some people don't do well working by themselves. So just
It's true.
that's actually real world, something I did working with a team of project managers who were just really struggling. And they were like, I never have time. I don't have time. And every week it was the same story. I didn't have time. Customer doesn't care. So we got to figure this out.
Yeah.
And that was the way the one of the things that I handle, and really it boils down to how much what's got your attention. Distraction is is really about something else has your attention, and you're allowing your attention to get swayed someplace else. What do you think about that, Roy?
I agree. I use the Pomodoro method myself. I have a cube which I knocked off my desk. I was going to show it, but I knocked it off my desk right before the show, so it's going to stay there.
I was
But
gonna
it's
say
got
I can
five,
switch
10.
keys so you can get it if you want to show it.
That's all good. 5, 10, and then 20 and 30 minutes on it, and so I'm gonna work on this for 15 minutes, and so I will flip it up, and I will just I can't do anything but that thing while that timer is going. And it has to be an emergency before I come out of it. It has to be something really serious. And then the other thing I do, and we'll talk about the different types of deep work. Um, but I'm gonna go ahead and give you a spoiler alert. Journalistic is my method. Um, I find pockets of time and jump on those opportunities. And so, for example, I looked on my calendar today, I had 1 hour free for some reason. I Because somebody asked me, Are you available?" Somehow there's an hour on my calendar nobody's discovered yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and block that out because I had something that was due today and I needed to focus. And so I blocked out that hour, and for an hour I worked on nothing but that. And then when the hour was over, I was back to the meeting zone because I seem to go to more meetings than anything these days. But and the challenge, you can't get any work done for all the meetings, you know? But, yeah, and then I like the co-working, if the stuff I did during the day was stuff I could share, it'd be different, I'd co-work, but I see a lot of YouTube creators now, they will go while they're video editing or while they're scripting or doing ideation, they will work with me video, and they'll just have it running, and they'll play some ASMR music in the background, and so, that's fun. I've done that a couple times, but there's some people do it a lot, and that's another approach you can have if you're a content creator to kind of focus. I'm going to focus on this, and there's people out there chatting, and occasionally I'll say hi, and I'll keep working, and so that's another approach.
Yeah. So we're gonna spoil it. Roy talked about there are different methods or strategies, and there are 4 of them, and he said what his was. So we're gonna start with that one. Explain what journalistic deep work is, Roy.
Well, it's fitting deep work into when an available time. So that's why, like, my calendar had an hour free today, so I grabbed that time and said, "Okay, I'm gonna work on deep work." And, then if I'm in the car waiting on my daughter to get out of school, I've got about 20 minutes right there that I can work on something then as well. And, so, it's just taking advantage of a time when it becomes available and saying, "Okay, this is the time I'm going to work on the following thing," and focusing during that time. And it's flexible. It's not You don't have a set time for it. So we'll talk about the others that are more rigid, but that this is my method that's always worked for me.
Okay. Let's talk about I'm going to leave the one that I my perception when I started reading the book before got
Mm.
into it, I thought that's what it meant. And I still believe that when people hear these words, if they haven't read the book and they haven't done the study, that they think that the first one is the one. We're going to leave that to last. It's what people think it is. So let's
Mhm.
talk about what's another one? Rhythmic. What is rhythmic deep work?
So rhythmic is where you create specific times a day specific times. These are going to always be the times when I work on deep work, and then the rest, then the rest of the time I'll work on something else. Hold on just a sec.
Okay, while he's doing that, go don't choke. Don't do please do not choke.
I'm good. I'm good. Good.
We don't want to have an incident on camera.
I know, right?
Right.
I
But go
got
ahead.
nervous.
You were talking about rhythmic deep work.
Yeah, I mean, it's creating consistent blocks of time on specific hours of the day, and that's when you're going to do your deep work. And then the rest of the time, you'll, it's just having fixed times for something. It might be, 90 minutes, or could be 30 minutes here, but you have it set at the same time every day
Okay.
so that you
Um yeah.
guarantee you're going to work on something.
Yep. I'm going to let Roy take a drink here real quick. Um so I'm going to just say this as we were talking about each of these have pros and cons. There's not one that is better or worse or is right. or wrong. They each have positives and they each have challenges. And the trick is, or the challenge is, figuring out for yourself what is going to work in the way you function. So keep that in mind as Roy is going through these different methods and explaining them, that it's not a one size fits all. And really we hopefully Roy will get a chance to talk about this. You can combine them. So I think he's ready to come back. I'm gonna bring him back. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. It made me cry. My eyes are sweating. So anyway,
Yeah, I
so
was
I don't know
sweating.
what happened.
And
I drank
I'm
all the
gonna get,
water. So
yeah, I'm gonna get to some questions. So then there's the third type is um bimodal. What is
right.
bimodal deep work?
Well, that's splitting your work hours between deep work and open availability. It allows you to be more flexible, but you do have kind of you might schedule a full day or you might schedule a half day and say this I'm going to work on deep work during this. Some of us we say okay all afternoon I'm doing nothing but deep work. I do better in the mornings. I do my best deep work in the mornings. Um, after I've had 2 cups of coffee. But I do my best deep work in the morning. So if I were to do bimodal, which bimodal probably is my second methodology for blocking out time. So I'll probably go between journalistic and bimodal, but I'm more journalistic finding opportunities. But so that's what but it takes a lot of planning. It really does. You got to plan that when you're gonna do bimodal and you gotta say, this is my time, this is sacred time. I'm going to do this deep work now at this time period, or else you just lose that time.
Okay. And I'm gonna come back, but the last one is called motastic. Not monotastic. I can't even say the word monotastic deep work. What is that? This is the
So
one that I
that's
think gets people.
yeah. This is when you become a monk and you're gonna run off and be on a deserted island and you're gonna spend months working on that book that you're gonna write or you on that project and you just minimize all other commitments and you say I'm not doing anything but this. So yeah, it's you're dedicating all your working time to this deep task. I don't know who has the ability to do that. Maybe if you're gonna go off into the woods and write a book and you got a little shack somewhere to write a book, maybe you can do that. But us in the real world, who has time to do that?
So, and I actually, this was the one I believe that many of the times when people think that they need focus time or deep work time, this is what they're thinking. I need everybody to leave me alone. Nobody asks me to do anything. Nothing is going to come my way. I can do just this one project that is on my mind and the rest of the world stops while I do this project. And I really think that that is the thing that's gets people stuck many, many times. Not 100% of the time. Nothing is 100%. But many, many times because we emotionally we feel like I should have don't bother me. Let me just go do this thing that I want to do or I plan to do or I intend to do. And it's that very last type that I believe is in people are thinking of. And that
Yeah,
may be reality for some. Being able to take a week, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, whatever, and go on an island and not interact with anybody else to go do whatever, write a book, write a whole album, whatever it is you're doing, build a tree house, I don't know. But for most of us, we live with and around other people. We work in where there are other people. We have to interact with other people. By definition, when you have other people, you're not out, you're not,
yeah. I was gonna say
out
that's
in the
definitely not the
treehouse.
approach if you wanna stay married.
I ain't going there. I'm gonna leave that one alone. I'm staying in the safe zone. Let me just say, I'm gonna stay in the safe zone. I am not going there. But
You just you can't have
understand
loved ones and follow that process, so that's
you
where I'm at.
yeah, your family, those close to you may have some comments for you. But those different types, again, they each have pros and cons. Of course, monotastic, which I can't say, is yeah, you nobody's bothering you. No one's asking you of anything. The challenge is it's not reality for the majority of us. So if we
That is
can
true.
get ourselves out of thinking, just everybody leave me alone. I need a week. I need 2 weeks to not do anything else. Hello, somebody.
Yeah,
However, the others you can make work. Bimodal is actually one that I started with, and I still will use it quite a bit. If I've got a big project and I need 3 or 4 hours, I will block my calendar. I'm about to do this in 2 weeks. I have got 16 hours blocked on my calendar for something specific.
mm,
So, but this one is the one where it does, Roy said it takes a good bit of planning to
yeah,
be ready to execute. This is right. This is about execution. So you've heard me talk about it. You've got to have all of your resources, all of your tools, your list, your task, exactly what you're going to do in that plan time. You can't use the plan have the time planned and you spend half of it getting ready to get ready. If you Roy, what do you think about that?
yeah, I mean, if you don't really treat that time that you've blocked out as sacred, then you will allow distractions. And so if that's the approach, if you're going to do bimodal, you have to say, I'm absolutely going to stay focused for the 4 hours or the 3 hours that I have committed to this. And you got to, maybe turn your out of office on. I'm deep into a project. You got to go and put do not disturb on Teams or Slack or whatever, communication product you're using inside the company. And so you just have to block it out. And now a lot of the programs will let you say these are the people that can communicate with me in the event they really need me. I can set it up where certain people can get in touch with me no matter what. But you gotta lock it down and stay focused. And it takes commitment. It really does. And so that's a challenge for a person with ADHD. But I see Frank ask a question. Do you think it's helpful to have white noise or background sounds like TV or nature sounds playing while working on a project? I love jazz. I will listen to Coltrane or Miles Davis. I will have that playing in the background. That doesn't interrupt me at all. I have accomplished so many important things in my life while listening to a jazz soundtrack. So that's that's just my method for getting really focused and putting my head down and getting stuff done.
Yeah, so Frank tells you
Yeah.
what your questions should look like, and we do. This is the question I think. Do you think you should have white
Yeah.
noise in the background? My answer to that is you really have to know yourself.
Mhm.
I don't concentrate with noise, so for me, everything is turned off. There's no TV. There's no radio. When I really gotta concentrate, there's no podcast. It's silence.
Mhm.
If I'm doing something where I don't need super concentration, I can listen to like a podcast. I can't listen to television and I can't listen to music. But that's me.
Yeah.
But I'm also the person who in v- a few exceptions, I can't even drive with the radio on. It's just
Mm.
it like it does something to my brain. So I love quiet, and I have always loved quiet. People who know me close know it's a rarity for the television to be turned on, like a rarity. It just gets dusted and that's it. Um, and it's rare for music to be playing just normally. So, but that's me. But I know that about myself. Roy,
Yeah.
You love jazz. So if that works for you, you really have to know yourself. If you're
Mhm.
using music or television or my podcast or whatever as a distraction, that it keeps you from doing the thing that you wanted to get done. It could be you're sewing or you're knitting or you're doing whatever, you're cooking. It doesn't have to be something on the computer. It doesn't have to be writing a book or a speech or a video script or whatever. Whatever the project is, you have to plan for it. If you're
Yeah.
gonna sew, get your fabrics and your needle, the right needles that you're gonna need, and your bobbin, whatever you need to be able to execute that sewing project in the time that you set.
Yeah.
If you're making a dish in the kitchen, get all the ingredients, all the pans, all the bowls, all the spoons, all the whatevers you need to execute making that dish before you start. If you wait and you said, I've got an hour to get this done, and 30 minutes of that hour is you pulling together what you need, you're not going to execute the thing that you said you wanted to execute or that you said was important to you. It's just not going to happen. Make
Yeah.
sense?
I need the music. I need the music so I don't hear the voices in my head. Um, and I can't listen to a podcast. My squirrel brain would hear like a word that has some connection with me. Oh wait, what did he just say? Let me back that up. I want to know. So it has to be music with no. I can do music with people singing, but I prefer it to be just instrumental. Um, so I also listen to classical music when I'm trying to focus as well. So yeah, just any kind of good instrumental music. I prefer jazz because it's such a creative art. Jazz is the improvisation and everything. So it's just that's why it just kind of fits in with my brain. Um, but yeah, I mean you're absolutely right. The other part I suffer with is I am a procrastinator. And so you were talking about that prep. That prep is very important. You need to do all the prep ahead of time, or else you will spend all your energy going and getting all the things you need in order to be able to accomplish the task you're trying to accomplish. And you will burn up valuable time that you should have been doing deep work because you're too busy going get, well, now I need a pencil. Oh, no, this isn't my favorite pencil. I need this pen. This is my favorite pen. I got to have this. Oh, I'm gonna write this on paper. You know, nope, I'm gonna do this in notes. I'm gonna dictate that. So you gotta put all those pieces together and it's kind of like content creation. You gotta make things frictionless. You have to make things frictionless. So it's like as a content creator, having a camera and a light and software and everything set up at any moment's notice where you can just sit down and start creating, you've eliminated the excuses that keep you from creating. The same is true for deep work. You have to have all the tools ahead of time so that when you sit down and you begin, you're not distracted and your squirrel brain doesn't go I really like that pen. I left it downstairs. Let me go grab it. And then you get downstairs. Oh, hey, the coffee maker. Let me go get some coffee. And just you lose that time. Your time is gone. So you just you just got to think ahead, and you've got to really be diligent. And that's why. But I am just so all over the place naturally that I have to pick times to focus and say, okay, I'm going to focus for this hour. And then you find time. My option is to pick a time that's free and book that. And that's when I'm going to go do that deep work. That's what I'm going to focus on ideation or project planning or going through a parts list on a project in the house, whatever your deep work may be, because it's not just your day job, it's life as well, because there's things that we care about, we're passionate about, and those things will require deep work from time to time as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we've got community members who are making comments. So let's see what they're seeing out here. Denise says, if I'm planning a focused filming session early in the morning, I need to lay my clothes out. One of my favorites is, and get the studio, my kitchen, excuse me, ready the night before. Otherwise, I time is wasted preparing. Absolutely, Denise. We were just, you just confirmed what we were just
Exactly.
seeing. Does not
Hmm.
one does need to make time for family. Absolutely. And for yourself, right? And for yourself. Need focused time for pitching and creating. Okay. I think of pitching more like pitching deals and opportunities to clients and stuff. That if that's what you mean, let me know. You may mean something else.
She plays on a softball team in her spare time. No, I'm
Uh
kidding.
okay. So Torah says focus with no interruption is a must when I'm programming my email automation, setting up another sequence of emails. Okay, yeah. I'm just looking to see, are there any questions? I don't see any.
We've done such a good job of explaining it. Nobody has any questions. No, I'm kidding.
It's okay. It's all good. You don't have to have any. Um, so there
Now,
are
Florence,
some
what's your style?
my
I got a
style.
question.
Yeah,
What is your style, Florence?
I'm actually a combination of bimodal and rhythmic. I don't do well with journalistic because I'm pre-plan just about everything.
Hmm.
So bimodal is my favorite, but sometimes it's 2 hours. I'll tell you, for me, in my corporate world, I have a minimum of 2 hours every day blocked. Absolute minimum. And someone has to really, really convince me to give up that time. In rest of my world, I block what I'm going to do at a certain time. I turn off the phone. Like, I may put the phone in another room and not pick it up for days. I don't need it. And I have multiple phones. So, um I will block if I'm going to, like, Saturday morning, I'm going to do certain things. That's exactly what I do. I don't do anything else. Um, it's really a combination of those 2 for me. And I'm pretty stringent about, if I'm gonna do this project, this is what I know everything I need, all the tools I need to be able to start executing. So, that's mine. Oh, Denise says, "No, Roy, brand deals and charts. It's not pitching like softball." It's brand deals
No,
and
I know.
okay,
I
so
know.
it's okay, brand deals and clients. Okay, awesome. So
Yeah,
I'm a
but she's got an empire, so
she
we expect
does.
that.
She does. So yeah, I'm absolutely a combination um of those 2. Journalistic, not as much for me.
Hmm.
Because usually for
Well,
me, I know what I'm gonna be doing. I've already decided. Even sometimes my plan time is I'm just simply gonna lay on the couch with my eyes closed for 30 minutes. I actually will put that time on my calendar. And that's actually what I go do at that time. So, yeah. Now I have a
I'm very controlled chaos, so I have to do it that way.
control chaos, huh? I don't even control my chaos sometimes. Sometimes I just let the chaos reign. I just let it be what it's going to be and don't worry about it. So Denise has a question here, so let's get to it and I'm going to let you answer. You both reinforce the need for focused time for projects. Can you explain bimodal process again? Roy, I'm going to let you answer this. The bimodal process. You want to jump in and answer this for her?
Yeah, so it's having kind of set times where you say, I'm gonna, maybe it's a morning. In the morning, this is all deep work, and in the afternoon, I'm flexible. I do whatever comes up. So that's bimodal. Um, which it's not, the rhythmic is a little different. You kind of create consistent blocks of times on specific hours and days, but bimodal, you kind of have blocks set up and say, this is when I'm going to do that. So, Florence said she has 2 hours blocked out every week that she's going to spend on planning time and that type of thing for her job. So, yeah. And I think all of us kind of bounce between bimodal. I don't know anybody that's monastic. Are we Henry David Thoreau and we're going to write a book and go off to a shack somewhere and write a book? That's what I see when I think of that. Like, okay, monastic. So it got quiet, Florence. I think that scene's got you muted.
It does. I was saying Frank is over
Okay.
here trying to be funny, trying to tell people
Mm,
business. So yeah, bimodal is where you schedule sometimes a whole day, sometimes a half a day. It takes much more communication, especially if you're interacting, you have others
yeah.
who are dependent on you. It is a balance um, between doing focused work and something that requires a good bit of attention and, more things that shallow that doesn't um, require. Rhythmic is you have fixed slots during the day. Um, and they're a little bit more consistent, right? So my 2 hours every day is more rhythmic because there's a block in the morning and a block in the afternoon, and that's every day. My planning time in the morning, which I don't interact with anyone else. And I know, Roy, you were talking about various communication tools. I don't even turn
Yeah.
on Teams. I get out of Teams and then I go back and look at it later. Now, you teach people how to treat you. I'm a strong believer in you teach people how to treat you. And if this is not your habit and you've been making yourself always available, whether it's messaging on your phone, Slack, Discord, whatever, and you want to make a change, that's going to require some communication and some patience. And over a period of time, training those who are accustomed to being able to reach you anytime and at all, that you're not always available. So you really have to, again, it goes back to you have to know you.
Yeah.
You really have to know yourself and what you need and how you function to be able to be effective with any of these methods. And it also, in my opinion, has to do with your family structure. Outside of your job, it has to do with your family structure. If you have young children who are completely dependent on you, that has a requirement that is very different than someone who doesn't. If you are a caretaker for someone who has an illness, that has a different requirement on you than someone who doesn't. So you really have to look at what is my life, what is the structure of my life, and how do I apply these in my life, in reality, how it really, really is, not how some book says it should be. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Right? So we've drilled into this. I just want to run through a couple of apps because I'm always, I think apps help. And there are some that we made a list of that you could use depending on what type of uh, process you want to follow. So, for example, Roy likes is more journalistic, and some of the tools that were listed, and y'all, this is becoming one of my fan favorites, and I didn't even know about it. I stumbled into using it. Zoom Docs. Um, ClickUp. I think Notion could be one as well. You all know I'm going to say Evernote, Microsoft OneNote. And if you're in the Microsoft ecosystem, some of these make sense. If you're not, others make sense. And it depends on what your work is. Um, but those are some. And some of the ones for rhythmic. Roy, you wanna call out specific for the rhythmic method?
Well, I, you know, I I'm still using my calendar as a way to block out time is kind of similar to rhythmic. And, of course, I am more random in blocking out time, but I do have a time blocked out every day, like you do. I have 1 hour blocked out every day where I'm going to focus on things that maybe I have to focus on all the things that came from the morning, all the morning meetings, but I try to use that time for planning and that type of thing to kind of get myself ready for the rest of my day. So, just probably Outlook calendar or Google calendar. That's just my method is using the calendar and literally schedule a meeting with myself. So I might seem crazy, but that's what I do. I schedule a meeting with myself, and I'm going to focus for that hour.
Denise says the problem today, people believe you should always be available. I'm gonna say
That's
this.
true.
I do. This is Florence and her trying to manage push buttons. My grandmother had a saying, and it doesn't sound good, but think about it. People in hell want ice water. Just because people believe or think you should always be accessible doesn't mean that you have to be accessible all the time.
Yeah.
There are probably a handful of people where that's true. A spouse, someone you're a caretaker for, a child who's completely dependent on you. Those may be exceptions. Everybody else, not so much. If you're not married and you don't have a spouse and you have a significant other or partner, maybe you put them in that category. Outside of that, not so much. That's just my opinion. For what it's worth, everyone has one.
I agree. I mean, I do remember the days when the phone was on the wall, and if you weren't home, if you were not home, well, you weren't near a phone. Um, so I know that ages us a bit, but um, it's just yeah, you got to figure out who are the people that are a priority to you in your life, and these are the people that always have permission to interrupt you. And then everybody else, you've got to set boundaries. You got to whether some notes you sent me, digital boundaries or physical boundaries. I use that with my team. I'll go and say, look, I'm going to be working on this for an hour. I'm not going to be available. So that's the kind of thing that I do. But then on my phone, for example, I have people that I have set in my phone. You can always send me a text, like my wife is doing right now. So she always gets priority. Always gets priority no matter what. Um, and then you got to figure out how to focus. And so that's the yeah. I'm going to turn that volume down. So it's just important. You got to figure out who are the priority people, and then everybody else has to take a back seat to the work that you need to get done if it is important.
Yeah. And again, you really do teach others how to interact with you. I'll give you an example. When my brother is focused, I know he's focused. Unless it's something crucial, I don't disturb him. My best friend, if he calls me during the day, unless it's something rare, I know there's something serious going on because he doesn't do that. My sister, if she calls me during the workday, it is something absolutely serious because she doesn't do that. Why? For years, they've known that when I'm focused on doing what I'm doing, I'm totally focused on doing what I'm doing. I'm not chit chatting. Um, Likewise, I just had this happen in the last 2 weeks. People who wanted me to do things at the last minute, meaning like last minute, they were ringing my phone. I turned the ringer off. I was like, I'm not doing that. I just turned the ringer off. They got the message. Oh, she's not answering. Nope. If I
It's time
text
to home.
Roy or someone else and they don't respond, I don't get upset. I just say, okay, they'll get back to me when the time is right for them. And many of you who are in chat, I've either called you or texted you, and if you don't answer right away, I'm like, they'll get back to me when the time is right for them. So it's okay. The trick is understand these methods and then figure out how, and you may have to test several to see which ones work for you. You may have to see if is this a combination? Am I a combination person? It may not be one size fits all. Rarely is it one size fits all. So I would encourage you to test them. Maybe go grab the book and read it. Again, a link will be in the description. And we have really covered this topic, I think, Roy, pretty deeply today. Anything else you want to share that someone else would want to think about when they're looking at what their practice is and what they want their practice to be?
You just have to decide what's important to you and base your deep work time off of that. And sometimes you probably heard the saying, eat the frog. It's that thought process that you need to do the hardest things first because we have a habit of doing all the easy stuff. And the easy stuff often is shallow work. And so pick those things that are hardest task of your day and do those first and focus on them. And then you'll actually find the rest of your day gets easier because you did the hardest, most difficult things early.
Okay. So Denise, I see your comment here about you started putting the cell phone on silent. I've got to set aside some me time. Being the big sister, I waste all. You were always the one that got called. Understood. Understood. And that's whether it's big sister or some other role in the relationship, in the family, in the friend group or whatever, that we've set ourselves up to be the one that the group goes to, and then we're depleted. We have no gas left for ourselves. We are just completely depleted. So I encourage you all to look at these, go back through, get the book, read the book, ask questions and comment if you're going through it. And if you have not looked at our online community, Roy is in there, and several of the other folks here are in there. Come hang out with us, ask questions, join in the conversation. And Frank, I'm gonna put this up because he is just totally out of control. Y'all, I'm just gonna let y'all see what he said. If I had one phone call to Florence, I would be spending the night in jail. She will call back later. This is what your friends will do to you. I'm just saying. This is what your friends will do to you. I don't know what to tell you. So, but Roy, you have your show. Tell people where they can find you all on the interwebs, as you call it, and then we're gonna let folks go home.
Well, my favorite place for you to find me is on YouTube, Tech Troublemaker, and I go live every Tuesday night. I will give you a programming note. I'm not going live this next Tuesday. I'm unfortunately my house will be in too much disarray after having the floor done, and my studio won't be set. So I'm taking Tuesday night off next week. But after that, you'll find me on every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. So I would love for you to join me, and we'll talk about content creation topics and creator burnout, which seems to be a popular topic on my channel. So join me for that. I am on Instagram as Tech Troublemaker, and I'm on all the socials as Tech Troublemaker. If you're interested in my newsletter, if you go to subscribe.techtroublemaker.com, subscribe to my newsletter. It comes out about once a month, so I'm not driving you crazy, and I do try everything I can to give you value, but also give you some behind the scenes on the stuff I'm doing. So that's me.
Denise is talking about, "Oh no, he didn't." I'm like, "What? What are they doing?" I
I
don't know
guess
what
she's
they're
talking about
doing.
Frank.
I don't know. I don't. I'm like, "What?" They're scaring me now. They're scaring me.
Yep.
And so I am thrilled again, Roy. Thank you for coming, hanging out. Thank you for
Thank
being
you for
just
inviting
you.
me.
And
You're one of my favorite people to hang out with.
you
You're one
know,
of my favorite people to hang out
well,
with. So
thank you. Thank you. I keep and see, I get to call him and text him and say, "What is YouTube doing to me? I don't understand. What's this thing
yeah,
doing?" And he's like, "Well, if I don't know, I'll figure it out and then I'll tell you." And then he's going to do a live stream and teach people. Go figure. So go join, go subscribe to his channel and watch his content. Have a open mind, a growth mind, watch his content, take the lessons that he is also sharing. He didn't tell me to say this and he can be mad. I don't care. Watch his content and we will see you all in another live stream or in a video or over in the school community. You can go to florencedonald.live/school, SKOOL, and take a peek. Join us over there. We will see you all in the next live stream. Have a great one, everybody.
I